Welcome to Annapolis Mosaics. Our program spotlights people in our city who are involved in activities designed to promote good human relations. I am Michael Keller, the host for your program and the chair of the Annapolis Human Relations Commission. The commission is a city board that seeks to ensure equal opportunity and to eliminate discrimination. My guest today is Norman Wallace. Mr. Wallace is on the executive board of the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP and is also involved with their legal redress committee. Mr. Wallace, welcome to Annapolis Mosaics.
Thank you, Michael.
First, could you tell our viewers about the NAACP nationally, a little bit about its history and its mission?
Very good. The National NAACP has been around, of course, we're coming up on our 100-year celebration here this coming year. The National Association of Colored People has always been about the fighting for civil rights and the justice of all of U.S. citizens. We basically focus on making sure that everyone has an opportunity to be successful here within the United States. And that focus has been through education, through economics, also through our efforts to make sure that in a justice system that everyone has a fair opportunity to equal justice under the law.
What have been some of the really major accomplishments of the NAACP nationally over the years? Things that you can point to that the organizations can say, we are really proud of having done this and that.
Well, I think if you look mainly at the work of Thurgood Marshall, as he worked with the national judiciary process, with some of the landmark decisions that were made as far as in the Board of Topeka versus the Board of Education, notes such as that, things that on the national level where the NAACP has played a major role in the equality of people of color throughout the United States.
Where does the Anne Arundel County branch fit into this picture?
Well, with Anne Arundel County, if we look at the history of the Anne Arundel County branch, and we go back years ago, some of your viewers may remember that the local or the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP was very instrumental in bringing about equal pay for teachers here in Anne Arundel County. There was a case at that point where minority teachers were being paid on a lesser scale than those non-minority teachers, and the NAACP's legal department was very instrumental in getting that situation handled, which brought about fair pay for both minority and equal pay rather for both minority and non-minority teachers.
Right. How long has the Anne Arundel County branch been in existence? How many members does it have? Tell us a little bit about the branch.
The existence of the branch, we've been around we're one of the oldest branches within the makeup of the NAACP. We've been around we're probably approaching close to 50 years as well. Don't quote me on that number, but I think that's quite right. As far as our membership, the membership of course fluctuates. We've been as high as 400 and some odd members. We've been as low as maybe 200 and some odd members, but the membership is not mostly the issue. Our issue is what we want to do within the surroundings of Anne Arundel County. We want to focus on making sure that educationally, economically, people of color within Anne Arundel County have equal access to success as everyone else.
With that, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the programs that you offer, especially in the area of education, but others as well?
Well, I think when we focus on education, there are two things that really come to mind. I think that when we talk about our AXO program, which is our Youth Olympics per se, what happens there is we have some very good young ladies that work with youth in a couple of the high schools here in Anne Arundel County, and this particular program gives kids access to participate in a national competition. Starts at the local level, where competitions are held at the high schools, and they win at those levels. It goes to the state level, and competitions held there, and then the winners there go on to our national convention, where they're able to compete there. And they have areas such as music, poetry, and writing, composition, of course, is writing as well. But those avenues give kids an opportunity to compete against one another in a non-athletic forum, to which we have an opportunity for them to share their academic prowess with others and be able to win awards in that aspect. The other thing that we're working with right now is making sure that the Board of Education and also Dr. Maxwell meet the obligation to the minority students here in Anne Arundel County to meet the minimum standards as far as the upcoming tests that are going to be required for graduation from high school. So we're basically, in our particular branch, we're basically focusing right now on education and ensuring that students of color have equal access and equal opportunity to be successful.
Okay. What is it that you want Dr. Maxwell to do to ensure that? I mean, there's no question that there is a desire to make African Americans equal in terms of their performance, and to ensure that. You know, statistically, if you look at the statistics, that's not happening right now exactly. So what is it that you want Dr. Maxwell to do? What is it that you want the county government to do in order to make that a successful program?
Well, I think one of the things that I want to say first off, that we want to not only look at this from the standpoint of African American students, but we also want to look at our Hispanic brothers and sisters as well, because they're not performing at a level equal to the non-minority student as well. But I think what the NAACP and all parents, as a parent myself, what we're looking for is to ensure that all students have equal access to success, and that it can be done in a number of different ways. We want to make sure that our teachers have the training to understand the cultural and economic differences between those students that are in the classroom. We want to ensure that the schools have adequate facilities and adequate instruments to help them to learn in an environment that may not always be the most appropriate for students that come from different backgrounds. So I think what we're looking for from Dr. Maxwell, from the Board of Education, and also from the county government is just, it has to be funding available to help close those gaps. And if you have a gap, you're not always going to be able to continue along your current path. You may have to make some changes in order to close that gap, and that's what we're expecting from, the Board of Education and from the county government.
Superintendent Maxwell introduced a program of cultural proficiency into the public school system here. It was actually a proposal that was made years ago by the Human Relations Commissions of the city and the county. And it collected dust for a period of time, but when Dr. Maxwell became superintendent, he picked it up and actually moved on it. And basically the way it works is that it provides training to the staff in the superintendent's office, as well as to principals and to teachers in the area of raising their awareness of the ethnic differences that exist within the school system, and making them aware of some of the attributes and cultural history of people from different ethnicities. It's designed to raise an appreciation among people of different races and ethnicities for the backgrounds of others, and especially having it focused on the staff and on teachers. What is your thought about this kind of a program, and do you think it ought to be extended as well to students, which it currently I don't believe is?
Well, I think that there are a number of things that that program highlights, and I think that the most positive thing that it highlights is that Dr. Maxwell does have an understanding that there is a cultural difference between the student body. I think if you look at the overall composition of Anne Arundel County, it's a very diverse county. You have a lot of different cultural groups, a lot of different economical groups here in this particular county, and for the staff to have a sensitivity to what kids come from and how kids may need to be taught in order to reach the same standard that other non-minority students have, I think is a great idea. That program in itself, to be expanded to the students, I think would further give the educational system as a whole an opportunity to celebrate each other's differences as opposed to focusing on each other's differences. I don't think that anyone is expecting a school system that changes its standards for different groups, but at the same time, we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to reach those standards. And that has to happen sometime by understanding that people come from different backgrounds, they learn differently, they have different expectations of education. So I think we have to educate everyone to understand that, and we need to recognize that each of us comes from a different background.
We're going to take a break now, but when I return, I will be asking Mr. Wallace about some of the other issues that the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP is working on, especially those that will be of interest to the residents of Annapolis. We've been talking to Norman Wallace, who is on the executive board of the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP and heads up its legal redress committee. Mr. Wallace, we've been talking about some of the issues that the NAACP has been involved in, especially in the area of education. What other kinds of matters is the NAACP locally working on, and could you focus on something that perhaps would be of special interest to the residents of the city of Annapolis?
Very good. I think two things that are coming up in the next year that are going to be very instrumental. One of the things is going to be, again, education. How that is focused on this residents of Annapolis is that, as you know, with the issues that have taken place at Annapolis High School, the NAACP has been very instrumental in helping in that process and trying to assist in after-school tutoring programs, looking to be of benefit with kids there passing the high school assessment tests that are coming up. Secondly, one of the major things that's going to be issued here in the county is affordable housing. That's another issue that is going to be very resonant here with the citizens of Annapolis. As you know, as this county has now ranked #1 as far as, Maryland's now ranked #1 as far as per capita income, that causes the housing prices to rise. So what happens to those lower income folks that are maybe single wage earners or minimum wage earners, and where are they going to live? With there being a lack of public housing in a lot of communities, Annapolis being one of those where public housing is shrinking, we need to address economically how we're going to house those folks that have not been on the top of that economic boom that has happened here in the state of Maryland. So those are two issues that are very important. Those are two issues that I think resonate very well with the Annapolis citizenship. And one of the things that we would do there is we would ask that we would reach out to the Annapolis community and ask them to seek us out as far as joining in membership. One of the things that helps in that area is that we have community involvement, a louder voice helps us to be able to go before the county and go before the Board of Education and make sure that we have a voice from the NAACP that helps us to magnify some of these issues. And what the NAACP tries to do is hold the public officials accountable for what we have already established as the, what is going to be the policy of this particular administration with Mr. Leopold, what is going to be the legacy of Dr. Maxwell as far as the educational process goes. And I think both of them, especially Dr. Maxwell, I think he's made some initiatives that are very positive, and we just need to continue down that path and bring about helping him make the change that needs to happen. And that's going to be done not only through the NAACP but through community involvement.
You know, the issue of, going back to the issue of affordable housing, this has been a particularly perplexing one, a difficult one. The Annapolis Human Relations Commission does have authority in the area of fair housing, which deals with discrimination. But of course, affordable housing is a whole different creature, and it has to do with the fact that the cost of housing in the city of Annapolis has gone up substantially over the last, say, 4 decades, and then certainly over the past 2 decades, to the point that even middle-income people are finding it difficult to be able to afford to live in the city. So with that constraint, what can you do? Is the NAACP locally working to provide more set-asides in housing projects that new contractors are putting up to ensure that there's a certain number of units that are preserved for middle and low-income people?
Well, that's what we have.
What's your solution to this to this problem?
That, as you said, it's an economic issue. It's an issue of basically is you know, location is always the issue with real estate, and with Annapolis being such a pretty area, right by the water, of course, it's going to draw folks that have, you know, the ability to pay. So what happens is what the NAACP tries to do, and we've had in the past, we've worked with some of the contractors, we've worked with some of the local boards as far as trying to push for there to be set-aside areas or to maintain low-income housing. Whenever there's a new community that's brought in, is there a certain number of housing for the low income that is made available? That has been a slow process because of the simple fact of because of the economic drivers. It's you know, it's beneficial for a developer to sell property at whatever price he can in this economy. So that's going to be a difficult driver. But one of our solutions is to work with local developers, work with the zoning commissions, and see if we can't help inspire that type of progress as far as low income housing.
What do you see as the major challenges facing the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP right now, and how does your organization plan to deal with them?
Well, I think basically one of our major challenges right now is to attract a younger membership base. That issue is very large. As we talk to younger kids about membership in the NAACP, and our charter or our mission being the helping with the civil rights of folks and racial discrimination, we tend to sometimes fall upon deaf ears with the younger audience. A lot of times they have not experienced a lot in that area. They've come up through a situation where they've been in desegregated schools. They have opportunities to work at major government agencies in this area, so they've not felt the brunt of that. So we have to, the big challenge is going to be to put out a message here locally that we can attract the younger persons into the NAACP, let them know that there is still a viable fight for the equality of all folks within Anne Arundel County. So that's our major challenge right now. That, along with, again, I have to keep pointing back to education and making sure that all of the students within the Anne Arundel County school system meet the minimum proficiency test and be able to graduate. I think at last number they were somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 and some odd kids of color that are in jeopardy of not passing the proficiency test and not graduating. So we have to make efforts to reduce that number and to make strides that everyone should at least get a high school diploma, and then start to work with these kids on getting into college and being able to get into places where they can be productive citizens.
How would you respond to this comment? Now that Barack Obama has been elected President of the United States, the work of the NAACP has been done, and it's really not needed anymore.
I've been asked that question about 15 times since November the 4th, so I will give you my answer. And my answer is quite simply this. Barack Obama has given every young child across the world, not only across this country, across the state of Maryland, a view of what is possible through hard work, through determination and through sacrifice. Now, with that being said, there are still a lot of kids that have the potential to be Barack Obama, but do not have the opportunity to be Barack Obama. So the role of the NAACP has not changed, and the mandate of the NAACP has not changed. We now have an example of success, but we are not all reached the level of success that we should. So the NAACP's job still remains. We have to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to be Barack Obama. So that is why I would say, no, the work of the NAACP is not by any means done. We have a large fight ahead of us, because that question is now being asked will make our work that much more difficult.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that in mind, then, let's look down the road, 10, 15 years. Where would you like to see the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP?
Well, from my standpoint, I would like to see the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP as a major force in the continued success of the Anne Arundel County public school system. I would like to see the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP as a major force in the economic development of lower income communities. And I would like to see the NAACP Anne Arundel branch in a place in which we can be a model for other branches around the country as a successful branch, which has brought in a tremendous amount of youth and is now marching towards showing everyone how much equal opportunity advances the prosperity of an entire community, not only that minority community, but the entire community. As we all become more colorblind, as we all become more able to work together, it only helps our community become more stronger.
Mm-hmm. Tell our viewers a little bit about the work that you do in the area of legal redress. What does that mean, and what kinds of efforts do you currently have that you could provide us examples from?
Well, in the area of legal redress, exactly what that alludes to is that we are the branch of the NAACP's local chapter, to which we ensure, or we field claims of discrimination, be it for race or for color. We take those particular complaints and we actually try to be a mediator initially, as we take in the complaint from the complaintor and we try to address whomever the complaintee is. In that process, what we try to do is help both sides to reach an amicable decision as to how we can satisfy the issues in which the person had felt that had been discriminated against is. Now, we take that particular complaint. If it's one that is of a larger magnitude, we forward that to our legal office at our national office and have them to deal with it further. But here at the local level, our legal redress is simply to take in complaints and try to ensure that the citizen is able to find some type of remedy to that situation.
Mm-hmm. Are there any recent examples you can give us from the types of cases you get? Obviously not mentioning people's names.
Correct,
but give some examples for our viewers.
Well, one of the things that has been brought up here recently, we had an issue with a member of the teaching community who had issues that came about where they felt that they were discriminated against. And one of the things we do there is, again, we take the complaint in a written fashion. We address that we make sure that the complaintee has followed all of the steps within the organization that may be available to them to find a remedy to that complaint. And at this point, we've not seen that case all the way through, but we're just in a fact-finding process. So that's kind of what the things, job discrimination with employers, any type of, we sometimes deal with resident complaints against landlords. We sometimes deal with complaints of neighbor against neighbor, things of that nature. But, you know, we always want to be the persons that try to get parties to sit down and settle their differences amicably between the two.
Some of our viewers are probably asking themselves, gee, I would like to get involved with the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP. How can they contact you and get involved with the work of your chapter?
Well, one of the things that you can do is you can definitely go to our website, which you can reach us at www.naacp-aac.org, or you can call our local office, which is at 410-974 6317. And through either of those fashions, you can get a hold of us, leave a message, or view when our next meetings are. Our general board meetings are open to the public, so anyone that's wanting to come out and kind of check us out, that's the way you can do that. We're very happy to have anyone that is interested in serving with us to give us a call or visit our website, and we'd be glad to have you as a member of the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP.
Could you repeat that contact information again, please?
Sure. The phone number is 410-974-6317, and the web address is www.naacp-aac.org.
We've been talking today with Norman Wallace, a member of the Executive Board of the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP and head of its Legal Redress Committee. I'd like to thank Mr. Wallace for joining us, and I'd like to thank you, viewers, as well, for tuning in to our program today. Please join us again. If you would like to have more information about the Annapolis Human Relations Commission, simply jot down the information that is on your screen. You can contact us at 410-263-7998 or by email at hrcommission@annapolis.gov. And remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "We have swum the sea like fishes, and we have flown the air like birds, but we have yet to learn the simple act of how to walk the earth like brothers and sisters."